Hi there, I'm Melissa James from Inclusive Tourism. I'd like to share with you a case study for creating an accessible destination. This presentation focuses on work I've done with the Bellingen Shire Council over the past 3 years. The following two speakers are Michael Grieve, former Economic and Business Development Manager at Bellingen Shire Council, and Rebecca Beaton, Manager of Riverside Resort Urunga.
Hi Melissa, thanks so much for the opportunity to be involved in your presentation. Happy just to give a bit of a roundup of our involvement with Inclusive Tourism Proprietary Limited and how we progressed the destination to be an accessible and inclusive tourism destination. Our first contact with your company highlighted the value of accessible tourism, not just from an ethical and moral perspective, but also from an economic perspective. I saw it as a way to differentiate the destination in servicing a market that was, waiting and begging for product and opportunity. It also became a way to innovate. When so many products and offerings are similar, it was a really good opportunity to find a point of differentiation and to show that what we were offering as part of our visitor economy and offer something different to a niche market that is well and truly emerging now as a primary market. So when we started, we rolled out workshops to tourism operators across the Shire, raising awareness of accessible tourism and the opportunity that was begging, really. We helped businesses understand the issues where and how they could prepare their business and to cater for that market. We then rolled out a second suite of workshops, which were focused on the customer service environment and how to recognise not just visible disabilities, but also invisible disabilities. And as we know, conditions like dementia are really increasing these days, and it's really important to understand how to service people with those types of conditions. The workshops were really well received, and with your assistance, we were able to really design those workshops in a really tailored way. And are subsequently taken up by Destination Coast and rolled out across that LGA, and then also by Destination North Coast, which is the peak body for the North Coast region, covering 14 LGAs. So in 2020, we then began to work with you to develop an accessible tourism plan for Bellingen Shire Council. We included our councillors and our business operators and undertook community consultation as preliminary research, and then we came up with a plan for developing the Shire's strategy. The plan included doing an audit of our nature-based attractions, which we primarily rely on in the Bellingen Shire, and looking at how they could be much more accessible. We also developed an accessible visitor guide, taking, careful measure to make sure that it wasn't too different from what we're offering generally, so that there wasn't a big, delineation between visitors with disabilities and those that didn't have disabilities. So that guide focused each tourism product, and we also developed a guide for our operators and how they could present to that market. The Accessible Tourism Plan is a really great reference document for our strategic planners and marketers as well. And it's not just the physical environment, but it prompted a real cultural improvement within council and other local governments, and really got the organisation thinking that whenever it came time to develop new product or new infrastructure, we had to think about the implications for the inclusive tourism market and people with disabilities from the community as well. So every time we invest or change something or develop a bit of infrastructure, we were able to refer back to that plan and use that as a guide around best practice with making things accessible. It also complements Council's Disability Inclusion Action Plan, so that the one document complemented the other. The plan also gave us a competitive edge when applying for grants to improve accessibility at some point of our most popular natural attractions. We were able to quote that when we had done an accessible tourism plan, when we applied for funding. We've been successful with $1 million grant application for Dangar Falls, for example, where we developed a fantastic accessible viewing platform and infrastructure around that precinct, and another $500,000 grant at Urunga foreshore as well for toilet amenities and playgrounds and footpaths. So I'll just focus on Urunga a little bit. It is a seaside village within the Shire that sort of aims to brand itself around accessible tourism, and Council has worked hard with stakeholders, including the Chamber of Commerce there, and collaborated with agencies like Crown Land in developing precincts like Urunga Wetlands, which is now fully accessible. When we built the Sea Lido there on the foreshore, we made sure that it included a ramp and rails down to the water to allow people with disabilities to have easy access. And with the latest successful grant, we will improve the foreshore reserve there in partnership with Reflections Holiday Parks. And that will include an upgrade to the toilet facilities, as I mentioned before, footpaths, car parks, playgrounds. So that's a fantastic result that will strengthen Urunga's reputation as an accessible tourism destination. I guess in summary, our work with inclusive tourism has offered Council and our local businesses a way to innovate and to attract this growing market, which is really, as we said before, evolving into a primary market, and one that we just cannot afford to ignore. This provides a great foundation for sustainable growth within the visitor economy, and it's a fantastic asset for your community as well to have accessible social and civil infrastructure. So overall, it's a great result, and Melissa, you've helped us bring our destination up to a point where we can really specialise in the accessible tourism market. So thank you for all your support.
I attended the Accessible Tourism workshop presented by Melissa through the Bellingen Shire Council and learned so much. We ended up going twice and taking lots of additional staff, and it really opened our eyes. We then had Melissa do an accessibility audit for Riverside Resort, and there were many recommendations that came out of that to help us be more accessible and more inclusive to everybody. So we are so happy that we went on this journey. From a personal perspective, I just wanted to make sure that families were holidaying together and felt included and supported every step of the way. From a business perspective, though, we had wheelchair accessible and ground floor accessible accommodation and facilities, and wanted to target a new market so that we could increase our occupancy and revenue across our 3 resorts, and we have definitely done this. Being accessible and offering these facilities creates great loyalty. Knowing that we can cater for those individual needs makes them keep coming back time and time again. They speak to their friends speak to their friends, and the cycle continues. My advice to other operators is to attend the accessibility workshops and make sure that all staff and all new staff continue to do the online training. Start planning with your business plans and your strategic plans, just to keep accessibility and inclusion on the top of your mind. There are so many improvements that any operator, large or small, can do to make life easier for those around them. And always keep an eye out for funding and grants that are available to assist businesses to become more inclusive, I guess. We've been successful in applying for grants of almost $1 million so far. Make sure that's the key aspect of your strategic plan. Do the best you can with what you have for now, but moving forward, plan for the improvements you'd like to make. We had no idea of the possibilities around being accessible and inclusive and what it would bring to our businesses. We've won multiple local, regional and state tourism and business awards, and we couldn't be any prouder of what we've achieved.
I think this shows there are a number of key success factors for creating an accessible destination. First, you need to develop your vision for the future. Whether you're a council or a business, you need a strategic plan to guide the development of an accessible destination or product. It's a marathon, not a sprint. There will be some quick wins to improve access and customer service immediately, and a long-term focus with future planning will create a truly accessible property or destination. It requires a champion. So if you can identify someone to advocate the cause and hold the vision, you'll have a much better chance of succeeding. And use your strategic plan and access audits to leverage grant applications. As we've just heard, there's plenty of opportunity at all levels to access funding. And remember, better access benefits tourism as well as the community and businesses.